Hey guys, how you doing?
Hey everyone.
Doing good. About yourself?
Good. I feel like I haven't podcasted in forever. I don't know why.
Yeah,
It's
I know,
only been-
right?
Kids will do that to you.
Yes, yeah, that's true. The kids in the summertime, it's more time with the kids, stuff, things like that, different activities, and yeah, unfortunately, it's taken me away from podcasting a little bit. But I'm glad I was able to make it this evening.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean, it's the most important thing is to, take family first is what I always say when it comes to podcasting, streaming, all this internet, YouTube stuff. Family's always first.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, well, I there's a bunch of news. The big news is that Skydance has a tentative deal with Sherry Redstone and to acquire her shares of Paramount, which will put Skydance in charge of Paramount. I think, and listen, I've been an advocate of this deal since the beginning, and because I like Skydance. I think they've got a good handle on the future of movies and streaming and all of that. And I think David Ellison's a really smart guy, and obviously the progeny of Larry Ellison, the founder of Oracle. So I'm excited. I hopefully this is going to go through. In the meantime, Paramount is on major austerity. They're letting people go left and right. The president of CBS News, after 20 years, has decided to step down. Most likely that was a mutual thing where they said, look, we'll give you a big severance. We can't afford your pay or whatever. But they're cutting left and right. Thousands of people are going to lose their jobs. Their general counsel just left last week. So there's a bloodbath happening over there at CBS and Paramount, which was probably much needed. I mean, my animosity towards CBS and Paramount aside, more CBS than Paramount, to be honest. I think they need it. They have to deal with the new world, and that new world is one of streaming, not of legacy studio TV.
You know what I was thinking about?
The only job we want to see is gone is the lawyer who comes after you, Alec. That's the guys in the black vans need to be let go.
Yeah.
That's what I've been doing the last couple of weeks, dodging black vans. But you know what I was thinking the other day, because the news about the whole Paramount thing and acquisition comes up almost as often as a fourth Kelvin timeline Star Trek movie. Mm-hmm. And I was just thinking to myself, I really wish that somehow the planets would align and Alec would buy Paramount. Because if that were to happen, I was picturing if there's a fault line that goes through the center of the planet, it would just split. And that would just be awesome, because then problem solved right there. It would just have that go away. Now, Alec, if you're secretly a billionaire and you're going to buy Paramount, you're looking at a couple of executives for your office already right here. So
the new podcast division of Paramount Peters.
Paramount Peters, yes. We'll have a podcast division, a fan film division.
Oh yeah,
it'll be great.
I'm going to put Vance Major in charge of the fan film division.
There we go.
And a quick question. So what are I have not heard any details of this deal. I heard that it was happening, but I have not heard any details. Like, do we know how much?
Is it even happening?
They didn't release the new number. If I may have misread that, but it seemed to me like they weren't talking numbers. What they did say was they've reached an agreement and there's a 45-day shopping period. So other prospective buyers are able to submit bids during this period, or Paramount may be asking them to submit bids, to kind of do their due diligence and make sure that they're getting the best deal for Paramount shareholders. Now, I don't think that anyone else is going to have a significant bid because Paramount is a company who the second rating agency, Moody's, just downgraded them to junk bond status. They're $15 billion in debt. on a $7 or $9 billion market cap, so way underwater. And so Moody's was the second rating agency to downgrade them, and that's not good. And because of that, it's a tough sell, because someone has got to assume all that debt. And at the same time, what do you pay? You're paying for the market cap, which is $7 to $9 billion. I forget what it is at this point. And although I can look it up because it's right on my phone. So it's a tough deal. Sony had said they were interested, then backed off.
Mm-hmm.
Supposedly, Byron Allen was interested, but that kind of went nowhere. He had to go out and get financing. So I think the Ellison deal, the Skydance deal, is going to go through. I just don't. I don't think anyone else is going to have a real put together a real offer for that. And
go ahead.
Being said, it'll be new management and new. But the important thing is they will keep this. They will keep Paramount Studios. Sony was most likely going to sell Paramount Studios, the actual studio lot, and then it would have been literally torn down and turned into whatever, like shopping centers or whatever it was.
A mall.
There's huge shame. That would have been a shame because Paramount is a wonderful lot. So Ellison will keep that, which I think is a great, is great. Now there are some people bitching about the fact that means that Alex Kurtzman stays in power at Star Trek. Who knows? Possibly,
But why does that mean that?
Just because of the connections that Skydance had with Bad Robot and
okay,
all of that. Obviously Ellison's worked very closely with J.J. Abrams on projects, Mission Impossible, and I believe Mission Impossible, and obviously Star Trek. Listen, I've kind of, this may sound crass and crude and disappointing, but I really don't care the direction Star Trek goes in the future, because I think what we've seen with the Kurtzman era is we've seen tremendous miss in Discovery, 2 blah seasons of Picard, but we've also seen some really great shows, right? So we've seen Lower Decks, we've seen Prodigy, we've seen season 3 of Picard, right? We've seen Strange New Worlds. So I don't see the Kurtzman era, the Kurtzman era is that bad.
We talk about this all the time on my channel, where it's like, everybody just is like fire Kurtzman, blah blah blah, and it's like,
right.
I try to seriously not justify it with people, but I rationale with people. And I Jefferson, I think you've been there for some of these discussions when we get our chat going, fire Kurtzman, Kurtzman's the worst. And it's like, why though? I get it. Discovery season 1 and 2, bad. Picard season 1 and 2. They're blah. But everything past that has been good. I wouldn't, there's not much that I'd rank as excellent. But everything's been good to great, in my opinion, since and Kurtzman has learned his lesson and listened to the fans. And so they saw Discovery 1 and season 1 and 2 and Picard season 1 were not hitting right. It does take a while to steer the ship right. This is not something that just turns on a dime. It takes a while to get this stuff to kind of turn. So I love where Star Trek is going, because I think that it's grown so much since the very beginning of the Kurtzman era.
What I look for more is that if the potential is there. Now, I've never been a hater of Alex Kurtzman. I don't think there's anything wrong with him. I think Kurtzman is fine. I couldn't say that I would lay the responsibility of the entire franchise on him. I know that we like to have one person we can point out, if Twitter doesn't behave right, that Elon Musk, he's messing up X or Twitter, whatever the hell you want to call it. We like to have a scapegoat, one person to point at. If we have a bad season of Discovery, that's Alex Kurtzman's fault. If we have, if Lower Decks is no good, that's Kurtzman's fault. If Picard is slipping, that's Kurtzman's fault. It's easy to point the blame, but the thing is that it's not, just one person. There are so many hands that go into it. Now,
Oh,
sure,
excuse me. If there is a bad fan film, I am pointing to Alec Peters first and foremost. He is responsible for every bad fan film that comes out.
Yes, but I am responsible for the destruction of Star Trek fan films. Despite the fact there have been more fan films since I got sued than in all the years prior.
Mostly
thanks to Vance Major. Let's just be clear. But no, I've heard it.
I think that you've got to look at the potential of the whole thing, honestly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've said it before. I said with Alex Kurtzman, because I'm not an Alex Kurtzman hater. I mean, I have no reason to be. What I said was, listen, pretty much every Star Trek show's first 2 seasons sucked, except for the original, of course. The first 2 seasons of Next Generation were bad 80s sci-fi. Deep Space Nine, not bad, just took a while to get its footing. Right. Voyager took a while to kick the Kazons out of the galaxy. Enterprise same way. So we're kind of in that pattern where it takes a while for a show to get its footing. And so I gave Kurtzman 2 seasons of Discovery, and my attitude was like, first, then he came forward with Picard, which wasn't bad. I didn't feel it was great, but I didn't feel it was bad. But as I think you pointed out, I think he can, for whatever reason, and it can be simply hiring great people, right?
Mm-hmm. Like he's responsible for putting the right people in the right places. That's
right. That is the number one job of a CEO.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone in charge, their number one job is getting the right people. So, because no one does it by themselves. And, and it all emanates from the top. I mean, Steve Jobs, brilliant guy, but let me tell you, he had brilliant people around him all the time. So, and any great organization is going to have great people. So give Kurtzman credit for getting great people to do great work on all those other shows and farming it out to Lower Decks and to Prodigy. And, listen, that's Alex Kurtzman's doing. Whatever you want to say, Alex Kurtzman brought you Lower Decks, and he brought you Prodigy, and he brought you Strange New Worlds, right? And maybe he, whatever the plan was, it's ultimately happened. It's not like gas prices and the president. President has nothing to do with gas prices. Star Trek is, we've gotten good Star Trek because Kurtzman was in charge. He made some good decisions. Whether you may not like him. I'm sick and tired of spending the last 4 years hearing how Alex Kurtzman was getting fired by CBS.
Right. And season 2 of Prodigy was pretty good. I
have not
just so you know, I have only seen 4 episodes. We are on my channel. We are reviewing 2 episodes at a time per week. So we're kind of taking our time to do that. So I've watched 4 episodes so far, which I'm going to just say, like, I want to say severely enjoying, but like, I am really enjoying Prodigy season 2 so far. Out of 4 episodes so far, I'm not going to lie. Like, I was not a fan of season 1. There were a couple good episodes, but not much good for me. And as I said, I'm not going to say it was a bad show. I'm not going to say that it's not Star Trek, like some people are saying. It's not for me. Like Lower Decks is not for Jefferson,
right.
It's just not for me. But this season of Prodigy has done excellent. I love it so far with the 4 episodes I've seen.
It's good. So yes, absolutely. No spoilers out there, but it was enjoyable. I like that. And I think that if we're going to criticize Kurtzman, we also need to be ready to give him some praise. And this question that you just highlighted is a good one, Alec, from is it Wilhelm Sowers? Would you like to see Jonathan Frakes as Kurtzman's replacement? If Kurtzman were to be replaced, I think that the obvious choice would be Jonathan Frakes. I really think that would be it right there. And I think everyone.
Let me play counterpoint to that.
Okay.
And I'm not saying he wouldn't be. The first thing I would say is you need to go to Jonathan and say, is that a job you want? Because Jonathan has proven to be an exceptional TV director, an exceptional Star Trek director, right? He loves directing. Just to be to play the game the way you do in business, that doesn't mean he's great at anything else.
Sure.
That doesn't. I mean, this is the Peter principle. You know, people get elevated past there. You take your best salesperson and you make them the head of sales. Totally different skill set to be head of sales than to be your best salesman, right? Totally different skill. That may not, and that's often the wrong move. So the first thing I would say to Jonathan Frakes is, look, is this something you would want to do? Because he may say, no, I want to stay behind the camera. I love directing. Just make me the official director of
everything. He just needs to direct everything.
You direct everything. So you choose your directing, so that's fine. But being in charge, that's a different skill set. That's a major producer skill set, which you may not want to do.
And that goes back to putting the right people in the right places. As I said, Frakes may not be good at putting the right people in the right places. He may have great ideas.
He may be, and he's clearly a great director, and everyone loves him. But listen, and is that Terry Matalas? Well, again, great showrunner, did a wonderful job with 12 Monkeys, did a wonderful job with season 3 of Picard. Does that mean that he's the guy to take over the entire franchise? I'm not convinced. Right. I mean, I'm not saying he can't. I'm just saying different skill set. Being a showrunner on one show is different than running a franchise, right? That when Kevin Feige is so good at running that Marvel franchise because he spent 20 years learning from Avi Arad and all the other, everyone else, and coming up through the ranks, producing, right? And so I would be hesitant to name someone as the heir apparent to Alex Kurtzman. And we don't even know. Again, Skydance might just say, hey, we're going to give Alex Kurtzman another 5 years. And
didn't he just sign a contract, or does the merger make it null and void?
No, it does not make it null and void.
I thought they signed him on through 26, or is it 25? I don't remember.
It could be. I know they did some sort of deal. The thing that I really feel strongly about is Alex Kurtzman's biggest mistake was not telling CBS to back off Axanar. I wish Alex Kurtzman said, hey, CBS, would you lighten up? We love Axanar, right?
Yeah, lighten up, Francis.
Yeah, lighten up, Francis. Excuse me. Yeah, exactly.
I'm telling you, they really should with Skydance. They really should start a fan film department, like we've talked about. I don't know if you were here, Alec, but we talked one time at length about Paramount having like a Star Trek fan film like spotlight section where they take Star Trek fan films. They say, look, this is how much people love this franchise. You know what I mean? Like,
what I would really like to know. Because there are a lot of things, and this is always something that's kind of frustrating to me, and it's just day-to-day stuff where it seems like this idea seems like an obviously good idea, and it's frustrating that it's not happening. And it makes me think there has to be something I'm missing. Now, all of us, and we could be a little biased, but all of us could sit here and say, yes, obviously Paramount should have a fan film division. It's perfect. It makes sense, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Well, I start to wonder, is there something that we're missing? Is there some unknown reason as to why that's completely not feasible or not doable, not marketable? It seems like a great idea to us. Yes, it seems like a no-brainer. But why aren't they doing that? Why is that not a thing?
I'll tell you. Before Axanar got sued, before we were even on the radar, I had started with Star Trek New Voyages in 2010. And back then I was the guy constantly trying to get them to come up with fan film guidelines because everyone said they wanted them. I mean, James Cawley said they wanted them. Everyone wanted fan film guidelines because they wanted to know where the line was, right?
Yeah.
And we basically said, okay, well, look, just don't make money. Don't sell stuff that says Star Trek on it, right? Don't, and that was cool. I remember Cawley got a cease and desist once for selling T-shirts that said Star Trek on them. Okay, we all got that. Mm-hmm. But John Van Sitters, who's the Star Trek brand manager, kind of said to me one time, we're wasting every hour we spend on fan films is a waste of our time. it's a waste because our time's so valuable. We should be spending it on something else. Which I don't necessarily disagree with that his statement, because they are so understaffed, especially in licensing and everything. However, it would be very easy to do. Now, the other thing was Bill Burke, the head of CBS Consumer Products, who I was having discussions with after Liz Kolodner, the head of CBS licensing, put me onto him, and we had this discussion, and he came back to say, and may rest in peace, he's passed, but he came back and said to me, I've run it up the flagpole, and literally everyone said that it would take the CEO of Paramount and the CEO of CBS sitting in a room together talking nothing about fan films to make it happen, make guidelines happen. Well, obviously that was bullshit, because they came out with guidelines really easily when they wanted to. It was a lack of will. It wasn't a lack of ability. So they've always taken, CBS and Paramount have always taken this, well, it's a waste of our time. We don't want to deal with fan films, whatever. Now look at Lucasfilm. Lucasfilm elevates fan films. Lucasfilm goes to bat for fan films. Lucasfilm talks to the fan films. And when I know one guy who was making a fan film said he talked to them and they said, just do us a favor and don't do this, whatever it was at the time. And you look at the thriving Star Wars fan film community, and some really great stuff is coming out of that community. And so it's all a matter of will. What does the company want to do? And CBS and Paramount have had a very disdainful, very disrespectful view of the fans in the past, and they continue to do so, which I hope changes, which I believe will change under Skydance. And but the other thing, let's just be clear. Elevating fan films is a little difficult because, one, you don't want, obviously what happened when Axanar got sued, we got sued because we were too good. We got sued because CBS felt there was brand confusion, right? The potential for brand confusion. CBS didn't want people thinking, oh, that's CBS Star Trek, right? Now, the solution should have been bring us in-house, put us on their website, make it very clear that this was a fan film and fans were doing this, but they didn't have the foresight to do that. So there is a potential. However, as much as I love Vance Major, and I'm guaranteeing you that most Star Trek fans don't want to watch Vance Major's films. That they want to watch Star Trek, but they don't want to spend the time watching 150 episodes of a guy who's shooting his stuff on his iPhone. It's just, that's not what people are watching, right? And so what now you're getting into, so what does CBS want to promote in fan films? Do they want to put Axanar on their website? Well, who's next? Is it Farragut Forward? Do they want to take the old episodes of Star Trek New Voyages and Star Trek Continues, which are obviously really good? Where's the line? So there's a lot of issues around that, which I can respect. Embracing fan films actually takes a little effort, and until you're willing as a corporation to put that effort in and to cultivate your fan films and to have someone who's the point person with fan films, it's probably not going to happen.
Usually for pretty much anything, I think the solution is look at the money. There are a lot of examples where you can say, well, why is this? It's because of money. Why don't we have that? Because of money. So one of the things to look at is, okay, there has to be some money related issue behind Paramount and CBS being completely hands off in regards to fan films. The thing is that, okay, you tell people you can't profit off of it, which makes sense because that's money. We don't want you to make money because we're the ones that want to make the money. So but the thing that doesn't make sense is, all right, but we are willing to spend an endless amount of money to make sure that you're not spending money. And to make sure you're not spending money, we're going to keep spending money to make sure that you don't. That doesn't add up to me, honestly. However, we know that the answer somewhere in all of this is money. So we don't want a fan film division because we don't want to lose money to anyone being too good. Well, if they're not raising money, why are you spending it if they're not raising it? Now, sure, you could cite Kickstarters or GoFundMe's or Patreons or whatever. Okay, well, the thing is that you're going to pay a lawyer more money to wash his hands after he takes a shit than this fan film is ever going to get from a tip jar. But you're totally okay with doing that and continuing to do that. That doesn't make sense, and that's the part that doesn't add up.
Did it make sense for CBS to spend $300,000 arguing the settlement agreement with me?
No.
Stupid shit over the stupidest shit in the world, right?
And I think that's why they went after Axanar, was because they wanted to make an example that would reverberate throughout the entire fan filmdom, because they're like, okay, we're going after the biggest dog, and that seemed to be Axanar at the time.
If you're going up against 6 guys, you pick the biggest guy and you hit him in the nose. Bruce Lee 101.
Right. Yeah.
So that's why they don't bother with kind of like some of these other fan, like Avalon or Farragut Forward or any of these other ones. They're like, well, no, we're making an example out of, and then you fought back. And I think that's what you do. You fight back against the bully. And then all of a sudden it's like, they have to save face, but they still, it's not like they retaliated back, like aggressively, like they were just basically on the back foot at that point with you,
well, yeah. They had that's why they settled with, they settled with us because they didn't want it to keep going on, right? It was bad PR for them for it to keep going on. But I think the point is that it never needed to get to there. There was a positive solution, and I was all about the positive solutions, and I was all about, how do we work together? How do we make this? We will give it to you, right? I've said this time and time again. We said to them, you take it. Let us make it. You take it. Do whatever you want. Just let us make the Blu-ray and give it out to our donors, and then go make money with it. We don't care. We just want to make it. They were not able to see that and to process that and to figure out a way to do it. Now, this is what I love about the potential of Skydance coming in. Skydance is way closer to a Silicon Valley tech company, entrepreneurial, cutting edge, than it is to an old school studio, whether that be CBS or Paramount. I think David Ellison is going to have a different way of looking at things. Look, their challenge is, how do we solve the streaming problem, right? That's the problem. It's how do we solve streaming? I trust David Ellison to solve that problem way more than I trust a bunch of old farts at Paramount, the three guys who are running Paramount right now, or whoever at CBS. I trust a person who's built Skydance and has a different view of what the Hollywood system is about. You need a paradigm shift here. That's what you need. Sorry to use the Silicon Valley techno babble, but that's what you need. And who are you going to get that from? You're going to get it from a Silicon Valley startup. You're not going to get it from. Listen, I've used the example before. When the first electric toothbrush that was really successful, the spin brush, was like 25 years ago, and it was an electric toothbrush, and it cost you like $10, and the head spinned, and it was before Sonicare and Orbi and all those guys developed them, and it was so revolutionary. But it was because a couple engineers figured out a way to miniaturize gears, and they made this toothbrush, and it was wildly successful. We were all buying it for $10 back 25 years ago, right? I think it was Procter & Gamble or GE, one of those guys bought them. The company, they either owned Crest or Colgate, I forgot which one it was, and they bought them. And when they bought them, they said to them, we're not touching you guys. You guys go do your thing. We're just going to market the shit out of it. but we don't want to touch you because if we bring you guys in house, and we're going to ruin your culture and we're going to ruin your company. We may own your company, but we don't want to ruin it. So you guys do your thing. And so they let them alone to innovate and come up with new and interesting products. That's a really intelligent way to look at it, because big corporations have big institutional lack of inertia, or maybe they have big inertia, but it's not going to be innovative. There's a reason that all of the innovation is happening in Silicon Valley and not in the Midwest.
Right. You've got to buy the idea, and that's the thing that makes a lot of companies grow. Now, I let me give you a disclaimer. I'm not a corporate kind of speak or anything like that.
What? Get out of here! I thought you were a corporate. I thought you were one of those corporate guys from Paramount that Alex was talking about. Those old guys that were trying to figure out streaming. This streaming thing. How does it get in the house? Does it come through a wire?
But the way you grow companies now is acquisitions, right? That's what you see all the time. It's acquisitions. If there was a company that I was a part of, this was before the one I'm with now, and the story behind them was basically, it was this construction company that I worked for, that I did IT work for, and there was a bid that they had to do a particular job, and they found that to get this bid, there was a thing they had to do that they did not specialize in. So what they did was they found a company that did, and they bought them. So now we can do this thing. And then another phase of this bid was, okay, now can you do this part? All right, well, no, we don't really have the staff or the people or the training for this part of it, but they found a company that did, bought them. So that's what's happening is you're finding the people that can do the thing that you need, and you're just buying them up. So to me, it seems like, well, that's where it's at, is you find someone that has a niche, that's got something that you can use or market, if anything, for streaming content. For Paramount Plus, what do they have besides Star Trek really that's worth subscribing for? How many times?
A lot of people like what crime show does CBS have? CSI, or is it NCIS? I don't remember.
I think it's NCIS, isn't it?
I know they got some kind of major crime shows that people like and they also have the Yellowstone universe, because there's like 3 shows of that. So Paramount does have stuff that we're subscribing for, although I don't watch it. I only watch it for Trek. I don't watch Yellowstone. Right. I don't watch any of the NCISs or whatever. But still, like when I normally talk to people, the main thing they're subscribed for is either one of those 3 things: Star Trek, Yellowstone or its surrounding shows, or like the crime shows, But
and you subscribe for the season, and then you cancel. Then you come back when whatever show you like comes back around. So if anything, I would think, even if you want to make the money off of it, let's say, for example, they decided, all right, we're going to have a fan film thing. We're going to make all the money off of you. You have to figure out how to do it on your own. Ask your parents for some money to help you. We're not going to give you any, but we're going to do what we can to make money off of you. People will still do it, and you're making the money. But, so that's why this entire thing, this entire crackdown, that this bad blood that Paramount has had, that's why it's never made any sense to me, honestly, because I've never quite seen it. And now you could tell me I'm missing something. I have not seen a financial or a money risk that was presented to Paramount on all of this. Not something that would make them go crazy. It's the reason, for example, this might be a bad example, but for example, I don't think electric cars will ever be a thing, not as long as the oil companies have something to say about it.
Yeah.
The 100%. Reason being is because you can't have electric cars if the oil companies could get put out of business or lose money. the same reason why, and I'm a firm believer on this. Now, I'm not, I don't smoke marijuana or anything like that, but I will tell you that in my opinion, the reason that marijuana has been illegal in the U.S. as long as it has been, why there's been so much fight about it, is because of the tobacco industry. They stand to lose money, so they criminalize the hell out of it because someone, if someone stands to lose money, same with universal health care. This country will never have universal health care because that puts at risk the private insurance companies that might lose money over something like that, and they've bought the right politicians for that. So you can look at any anything in any progress that is hindered here is because of the money. It's because someone who has more money is going to keep something from happening. We could have had electric cars could have been standard well before now, but
Okay.
It's maybe not well before now, but it's going to take a hell of a lot longer, if ever.
No,
the oil companies have something.
The problem with electric cars right now is our infrastructure cannot support them. And I'm not saying you're wrong. Like you are 100% correct with the oil companies basically holding their thumb over that, like the leak that is the electric cars, like that little hole. Like that's how big they are. They are holding their thumb over that electric car hole. One day when they run out of oil, it's then going to explode. The problem is right now is that we are not investing enough money in the electric infrastructure. Because if we went, let's just say tomorrow, we just went to electric vehicles, our infrastructure would collapse. Our electric infrastructure would collapse because we cannot support that many vehicles going into. Now, we could be doing things to prepare for that, of course. But again, the oil companies, as you said, are putting their thumb over that and saying, no, we don't need to talk about that right now. There's nothing going on right now over here.
Right.
The other thing about what you were saying about marijuana is, I do agree with you, is that tobacco has a lot to lose. Also, the prison systems, the private paid prison systems, for-profit prisons also have, it's an easy way to put minorities away.
Yeah.
So, I mean, so that's, and as again, you're not wrong. Like tobacco does have a lot, but there's also another layer to that where it's like, for-profit prison system, but universal health care. Again, there's all these lobbyists from these privatized insurance companies. I work in healthcare. Like I see it. Like I can, like you say, follow the money. I see exactly where it is, and these privatized insurance companies don't want to go to universal health care because they want to keep that Medicare money coming to them. And plus they want people to be buying their insurance privately. But right now they are making a killing siphoning off of Medicare and Medicaid right now, all like United Healthcare, all of these places. So it's like, I see it where I work. I've done many things, you just see it, like where they're trying to siphon all this money out of our government, so. And
that's what takes me back to the confusion that I have about fan films and the relationship with Paramount is I cannot figure out how Paramount can lose money.
I think it's a pride thing.
Fan films.
I really think it's a pride thing. I think they are so old school that they're like, no,
it is.
Star Trek is ours. We own it. You don't touch it.
Exactly it. That's exactly it. Exactly. Okay. I'm going to totally change the subject matter here and give you guys a little something to salivate over.
Okay.
Ooh,
I like that. Oh, some more previs. Okay. Get a little close to the starbase there. Who's flying that ship? There we go. Nice. I like it.
There you go.
Good.
Yeah, we've gotten a bunch more. The things are going really well, and also we're about to be fully funded. The last check is coming from one of our benefactors, Goodney in Japan. Arigato gozaimasu, Goodney. So we're really excited about finishing the VFX, and
I'd love to have him on a live stream sometime.
It's so funny you were saying that because he and I have been talking a lot the last few days, and I was going to say, God, we already had Dave on a live stream, so we need to have Goodney on a live stream as well. So we will. He's an interesting cat.
Yeah, I definitely want to be on for something like that. Yeah, he
Yeah,
seems like he'd be a lot
absolutely.
of fun to talk to. How far along are the VFX? Like, if you had to give a percentages, we're halfway there. We're 60% of the way there.
Oh, I know we're close to being done with episode 4.
Gotcha.
Close. Now that means there's like we're right now just investing in new computers, and there's some new chips coming out, and we're investing in a new computer system just for our VFX team, just so that they can speed up the process of rendering. So things have probably taken longer than I'd like up until, since we finished principal photography. But now the goal is now we have a process in place with our we have 2 VFX teams. We have a process in place with both of them. The previous is just coming off the assembly line, and we're signing off on it as fast as we can. We're already gotten the first finished shots. And now I think we're really going to, I think the next couple of months are going to be really, really productive. Obviously episode 5 is a lot more intense than episode 4 as far as VFX, because episode 5 has all the Battle of Axanar, a lot of ships, right?
Mm-hmm.
But there's some.
I love me some pew-pews.
Yeah.
There's just some great stuff. Let me see if I. There it is. Let's see.
And making the investment in the technology, that's the important part. If there's anywhere where you don't want to skimp, it's on the technology, because it's the computers and your hardware that's going to make these things possible. I think that it's easy to forget that can be where your bottleneck is. You can spend all the money on cameras, microphones, sets, et cetera. But then you start skimping on the computers, and that's where it's going to hurt you.
There you go.
Another nice shot there.
Yeah. So and there's previews that we're getting, and I'm like, our VFX team is sending us shots we didn't even ask for. Now, it depends whether or not we'll use them. Whether or not we'll use them is another matter. But they're sending us a lot of stuff because, a lot of it is, well, what do you think about this? Listen, that whole Pearl Harbor scene in Battlestar Galactica, where the Cylons destroy the starbase, was basically the VFX team saying, let's try this and see if they like it. The original shot was so basic. Doug Drexler told me about that. And and how the VFX crew went wild because they loved it so much. So, and then here I'm going to give you another little tip. I can't even. It's almost like I can't tell you about this, but here you go.
What's the story here? Huh?
Yeah. So.
Okay.
Yes. So there. There's a story here.
I like this.
It's not Axanar, but it's a really cool story. There's another ship that goes with this, and the ironic thing is that is not. That was sent to me, and I don't even remember where it was sent to me. But that was sent to me, and one of our team said, "I'm thinking of this, doing an Axanar piece, and it's about finding a USS Ares in the TNG timeline, finding an Ares class." And I'm like, "Oh, that's interesting." And I just found that photo, and I just sent it to him. And I said, "Something like this," because obviously, great minds think alike. I didn't do that; someone else did. So, but it's fun when you get other fan film people who want to play in your universe. And I think we're hoping that the change in ownership at Paramount drives more fan films, right? More Axanar fan films.
So I have a quick question. So if Skydance Paramount goes through, I don't know how long it's going to take. They say it can take 1 to 2 years for the merger to be complete. Does this change anything for the current Axanar project?
It doesn't, other than it reduces the friction we have. So we don't have to deal with some
Black vans.
you know, or some or some some putts thinking, hey, let me screw with Alec. The goal obviously is to have an enlightened monarchy over at Skydance that says, hey guys, that really wasn't the right way to treat fans. We're going to treat the fans a little differently. Now, I have there's no delusions here that Skydance is going to pick up the phone and say, Alec, come work for us. That ain't happening. But what would be nice is to get an email and say, hey, let's just talk about how we can reduce the friction between fan films and Paramount. All for that. Yes, that's what we're here for. We're, ultimately we're here to promote Star Trek. Whether or not the unenlightened individuals at CBS and Paramount and Lobes decided, to do whatever they wanted to do. There's a path forward because we just want to make Star Trek. We just want to promote Star Trek. I mean, anyone, I have yet to find the person who knows about the lawsuit, who says to me, well, seriously, a smart person, not some.
I was about to say, I think there's a whole Facebook group that
not some intoxicated, but a person who's either in the industry, let's say in the film industry. I've yet to meet the person that says, oh, well, I don't blame him for doing that. You were too good. No one says that. They all say, how fucking stupid were they? They should have picked up the phone and worked a deal out with you. And I'm like, yeah, we offered to give it to them. And no one, it's almost like people don't believe me when I say that. But, back when we lived in LA and I used to go to these Hollywood parties, one of our friends is a famous photographer and he invited us to all these parties. I can't tell you the people that I met, Cliff Simon from Stargate. He was like in love with what we were doing. Colin Cunningham, who who also was in Stargate. Major Davis, who actually was in Origins, the Star Trek New Voyages fan film. He played Pike. He was like, those guys are idiots. They should have hired you. I mean, that's the reaction we get. There's no one will look at the reviews on Prelude. Everyone thinks it's like the best Star Trek in 20 years. And it's not the best Star Trek in 20 years, but we appreciate that people are enthusiastic about it, right? But the point is, we're Star Trek fans. We love Star Trek. How stupid do you have to be not to go, well, that guy's a big fan. Let's leverage him into making our product more valuable. Let's turn him into, he's got 100,000 subscribers on his YouTube channel. That's called an influencer, right?
Right.
Right. It's like, how smart do you have to be to go, that's a good person that could be an asset to our franchise.
And right. Instead of trying to cultivate talent, it's more about how can we quiet people and beat them into submission.
Well, and that's why I go back to, I think it's more of a pride thing because it makes no sense. Like where they're, in this day and age, we're trying to cultivate relationships with fans and everything. Like the fans are more involved in these franchises than ever before, and they should be listening. And CBS and Paramount, mostly CBS, are just like, they have that arrogance to them. You can just see it where they're just no, this is ours. This is our baby. We didn't come up with this. So that's why we need to spend thousands and thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars to quiet this down when they could have been putting that into a new Star Trek show. You know what I mean? Like,
right. It's ours and
you can't touch it.
Exactly. And we're going to send a message and make an example. It's kind of like, I don't know why you guys kept reminding me of this. There was one of many arguments or disagreements or fights I had with my ex-wife. And I think I was wrong, but I didn't want her to know that. and I wasn't going to. I was so committed that it was like I was going to just play this out because the risk of being wrong was just too great. And I
But that's
I
the
was
thing, though. It
not
doesn't
going
make
to
sense.
give that win.
No, but that's the thing, though. Is that like the risk of being wrong in this instance? Well, it got to the point where it was so bad because they kept on pushing back at fan films. So yeah, there came a point where, but if in the beginning where they went to Alec and they said no, we need to cease and desist, and then they sat down and talked with Alec, and then they're like, oh, okay, well then let's negotiate that. Like it so yeah. So I guess the again the stubbornness of them not wanting to actually sit down at the table and be like, all right, let's work something out with this.
Yeah, because listen, as I've said before, someone said to me, a year or two ago, someone said to me, Alec, in 50 years, no one's going to know that Prelude to Axanar wasn't real Star Trek. And I was like,
True.
Oh, okay, that's really interesting. Okay,
True.
if that is true, then why do you not want that person who's making that Star Trek, that Star Trek that's going to outlive all of us, working with you? Again, Cheeto, as you said, it's like if they had called me up and said, look, we can't have you making a movie, right? We need you to cut it down to 2 15-minute episodes or whatever, or make 2 more episodes like Prelude to Axanar, and we'll put it on our website. How's that? Okay. All right. Listen, I was the one asking for guidelines. If they come in and asked me for that, I would have said, okay, what am I going to say? You're giving me a way to make it. It's not what a movie. Okay. We would have done it, but they didn't do that. And so again, that's not, that isn't enlightenment. By the way, I do want to say, everyone go to Patreon. Everyone should be a member of our Patreon campaign because we're slowly expanding the Patreon campaign. I think we finally, whereas it no longer is about just, it's no longer about supporting the studio through Aries Studios. It's really about supporting everything we're doing. Not Axanar per se, because there are rules about how we can raise money for Axanar. And besides, Axanar is fully funded thanks to David Goodney. So, but other projects, our Orville fan film and other things we have doing. So there's a lot, there's a lot of fun things, and I am putting out previs and VFX and stuff on Patreon. I just posted an article, a little thing, some photos today. I urge everyone to go there. Look, you can join for $2 a month, $5 a month. It doesn't take a lot of money, but we appreciate it, and it'll help us continue to do what we're doing. So please do check it out. But there you go.
And keep up with the newsletter.
Yeah, listen, the past, since the beginning of June I've been otherwise occupied. First, Crystal and I went away on our first vacation in 8 years.
Nice.
Non-convention. I consider San Diego Comic-Con and Dragon Con vacations. Crystal does not. Okay, fair enough. Mm-hmm. Non-convention vacation. So we went on that, and then of course my father passed, so that took some time, and then we did a fundraiser for 2 weeks. So I've been away for 12 hours a day. So I'm finally, like, today is the last day. We turned in the truck, took care of everything, moved a bunch of stuff, and I'm settling back into things. And it's we've got 2 other short little films coming out in addition to the 2 episodes of Axanar. I'm starting. We're finishing the script that is good. Is going to be the hardcover script that we had promoted last year. So that's going to be coming out. Dana and I are working on that. Dana Wagner, who many of you know, is the kind of the godfather of the bridge set. He just retired, so he's got a lot more time to do stuff. So we're putting him to work on multiple fronts. One of which is laying out the script for us to send to the printer. So so there's a lot of stuff going on.
Well, that's exciting. I'm happy to hear that there's progress that's happening. Things are going on. So it's going to be good stuff. We've got good Star Trek that's out. We've got Star Trek fan films that are happening. Some very good films that are coming out to look at and watch. So I think all in all, just for Star Trek in general, it's it's some good times.
No, I agree. I'm looking forward to seeing. And listen, I'm not a fan of the idea of Starfleet Academy, but I'm going to give it a shot.
Sure, we might like it. You never know.
We might be surprised, right?
I've actually been championing this idea for a long time. I'm not sold on doing in the 32nd century. I wanted them to do it more in the Picard era, like back in more prime. I don't want to say it is prime timeline in Discovery, but like more of the prime era of Star Trek, whether that be like the motion picture, whether it be the Lost Years, whether it be, TNG, or whether it be like post Nemesis, like somewhere in there, I was kind of hoping for. I'll take what I can get. Maybe we'll get a spinoff, Starfleet Academy, Starfleet Academy, the next generation. Maybe it'll take place during that. I don't know,
Well, isn't the big crux the fact that there is a Starfleet Academy again for the first time since the burn?
Yeah, they're
over 100 years. That's the big part. Like if you just have a Starfleet Academy that's during the Picard era or whatever, it's just kind of like, okay, who cares? All right, it's an academy. Yeah, they have it every year. They've had it every year for a couple hundred years. Well, but now the whole point is that the academy is back. And so I think it makes sense. To me, in my opinion, it makes more sense that it's in the 32nd century now because Earth is rejoining the Federation and Starfleet Academy is back than it would if it were a familiar time.
I think it should take place in the Lost era, somewhere just before like TNG era, like a couple years before the TNG era takes over. So you kind of see them go from the monster maroons up into like the new,
but then you have all the canon nuts.
I know, but the Lost era is just so open. Like really, you've got like 4 major events you have to account for, and you don't even.
But they know how we are, though. They know how the fans
sad.
act with anything that takes place before anything else, a prequel. So we did it to ourselves. The reason we're not going to have anything in the Lost era or anything else is because they know how we act. And we just did it recently with Discovery. Look at it. We acted a fool over Discovery.
I didn't act the fool over Discovery. I
first couple
enjoyed
seasons.
Discovery.
I know, but you see.
But you're right. Some people we just can't win with. They're going to hate Alex Kurtzman no matter what. Like the Kurtzman era stuff, they're going to hate him no matter what. And anything that is under his watch, which, I mean, again, they praise season 3 of Picard, and yet Kurtzman's the one who hired Metalis. Wow, it's almost like Kurtzman put the right person in the right place to do the right thing. Huh. That's almost like what an executive producer does.
And listen, it amazed me, and it continues to amaze me, that there were people the same group of critics who didn't like season 3 of Picard.
What?
Oh yeah, we have a
Who
guy.
doesn't like season 3 of Picard?
Major Rage.
Man,
he was not a fan.
Get him on the. I'm going to speak to him.
I actually did not sing its praises as much as a lot of other people. Like I grew up on DS9, so
you don't
like
have
for
to
me,
love
it was
it. It's just if you talking about, I didn't like it. What? Not that's
Listen, you say you don't like Lower Decks, and I go, what?
That's different, though.
Not really.
The thing was, guys who were constant critics of Kurtzman, it's like there's nothing that Kurtzman can do that they like.
Right.
And it's like, okay, you've invalidated your opinion in my book because you're not willing to objectively look at the fact. It's all this anti-Kurtzman rage, and or just like the Kathy Kennedy rage, just like Star Wars is dead, everything's crap. I'm like, really? Because Mandalorian's pretty good. Because Andor is excellent. Good, because Rogue One is my favorite Star Wars movie. It's like, yes, the 3 sequels sucked. We can agree to that. But the TV is not bad now. Now everyone's jumping down the throats of Acolyte. I'm like, I don't know. There's
wasn't Kathleen Kennedy involved in the good stuff and the bad stuff, or does she step back when something good happens and then comes back from vacation and suddenly we have a bad thing again?
Filoni in charge, right?
Right.
Again, good people. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not a Kathy Kennedy.
We love us some scapegoats.
Yeah, I'm not. Look, I'm not going to go out and defend Kathy Kennedy because I think she's made a lot of bad mistakes. But I'm not going to give her shit about every single thing she's done because some of the stuff, some of the stuff's okay. But I watched Rogue One again. I don't know, about 2 weeks ago.
It's a beautiful. I love Rogue One.
God, it's such a great movie. It's such a great movie.
Rogue One is good.
No, it's the best in my opinion.
Me too.
Better.
It's my favorite Star Wars movie.
And better than Empire, better than Return, better than A New Hope. Oh yeah. Yeah. I will die on that hill.
Oh, me too. Plus, it creates characters that you care about, and you care about the fact that they all died.
Cheeto, I was with you until you challenged Empire.
No.
I'm not saying Empire's bad, but I'm just saying
Empire's great. It's probably
I'm not saying Empire's bad. Empire is definitely one of the best Star Wars movies.
Just talking a little crazy.
Rogue One is like, here's Empire and here's Rogue One. Like, I'm sorry.
I'm with you, Cheeto. I'm with you, Cheeto. I think Rogue One is just fucking brilliant.
What I really liked about Rogue One and what I think is a mark of a very good movie? Rogue One got praise from me because I knew how it was going to end. We all knew how it was going to end, but it made you doubt yourself for a second. Like, wait a minute.
How are they going to pull this off?
I don't know that these guys are going to make it. I don't. It made me question for a moment that, I don't think that I know damn well this takes place right before A New Hope. And we know how that happened. But for a moment, I started to think, I don't think they're going to make it. I think these guys are toast. The plans are not getting off this ship.
Yeah.
When you know what's going to happen, but you doubt yourself, that's a good movie.
The other thing I really liked about it, was that you got to see the dark side of the rebellion. The rebellion was not squeaky clean. And I think they hinted at that in Rogue One, and they expanded on it in Andor. That's why I think Andor is such a fantastic series, because it takes what Rogue One that little hint that they got there. They're like, wow, the rebellion is actually doing some shady shit right now, and they were just like, all right, well, we're just going to go all in on it. And I can't wait for season 2. I think it's going to get so good.
Yeah. No, I love Andor, and they're supposedly introducing other characters from Rogue One into Andor. Which is great. So
they would have to, at least for Cassian's sake, because wouldn't I can never K7 I think is his name, they at least got to have him meet him, because they say that season 2 of Andor is going to lead right up to the beginning of Rogue One.
Oh, is that what it is? Yeah,
that's what they say, because season 2 is the final season. Like, they're not going past, that's the only problem with Rogue One, is that you kill everybody off, then you really, if you're going to milk it, which I don't endorse milking anything, but it's just like, if you're going to milk it, you kind of very limited play box, unless you're going to screw with canon. And guess what? You don't screw with canon.
No, don't do that. Star Wars is like, no, we're not messing with canon. We've seen Star Trek fans. We see how they act.
Andor, and the great thing about Andor is it is the least Star Wars of all Star Wars movies, shows, of everything. It's just like, you're in the universe, you get it, where it's happening, but it's bleak, and it's like, sometimes you're dealing, it focuses in on stuff that's just, it's a prison movie for a third of its run, right? It's basically, which is incredibly depressing, and a lot of it is art house stuff, and a lot of it you have to appreciate. You've got to be able to appreciate nuance which is such a vanishing commodity in our society.
And Andy Serkis.
And Andy Serkis is so freaking good. But you got to be able to appreciate that stuff in order to appreciate Andor, because Andor is not, it's not rah-rah. It's not Mandalorian with the cute Grogu. It's you're not dealing with characters that you've grown up and loved. And it's just giving you the dark underbelly, not only the rebellion of just how oppressive the administrative state of the empire is,
right.
But in a way it's so freaking compelling. It's just, you cannot oh my God, I got to watch the end of this, but I'm so depressed right now. You know, yeah, and Stellan Skarsgård. I mean, it's just
Yeah, God, oh, the underbelly scene by the elevator. Oh my God, like that show is so good.
Oh God, it's just, yeah, it just made you think. It just made you go, holy shit, this is what was going on, and this is what it's about, and it's, you know, yeah, it's there's you just realize, and as he say, what have I sacrificed? It is about sacrifice. It's like, you know, the rebellion isn't all Luke Skywalker swinging through the Death Star with his sister on his hip. It's not all bright and shiny. It's dark and bleak, and people are dying, and people are getting. It's just awful, awful, awful. But
yeah, the universe has to get to that point for all out rebellion like that. And here's the thing. It's like with Mon Mothma, I love her story in Andor. And it's like, but I dread what's going to happen to her husband and her daughter.
Oh my God.
Well, think about all the subcontractors and union workers that were on the Death Star. They didn't have anything to do with anything. They're just working a job. You know, this guy's in there probably painting a room and running wire in a conference room. And then suddenly he's got torpedoes shoved up his ass and the thing blows up. You know, I mean, who's the guy that thought that the Rebel Alliance were just all upstanding good guys?
All of the corporate execs. I mean, Moffs in the conference room on the Death Star. They're the ones who were like out of touch. Even Grand Moff Tarkin. You know, he's like leave in our moments of triumph, and he's like they're like, hey, there's a real threat here. We've analyzed their plan of attack, and we may die. And Grand Moff Tarkin's like, they cannot do this, even though they're like outside their doors, their windows firing.
I would have been the first one off that ship.
I know. I'd have been like, deuces.
The station, yeah. Peace. I'm not paid enough for this.
All right, listen, we need to right here, guys. We appreciate it. Thanks for coming out. Thanks for joining us in our conversation. We will be doing it again more often. So stay tuned. Make sure that you're let me give you a different banner. Make sure you sign up for the Axanar newsletter down there. Go to axanar.com/newsletter. Sign up for the Axanar. That's the best way to get all the info. Thank you, Cheeto. Thank you, Big J. It's appreciated. We will see all of you guys in the near future with more news on what's happening. Cheers. Live long and prosper. Now